So I have three disclaimers to get out of the way. One, my cat is currently on my lap. That's the first thing. The second thing is I wanted to talk about the live Q&A that's supposed to be happening last night on my birthday. Oh, by the way, yesterday was my birthday. I'm 25 now. Woo. Yeah. I was supposed to be doing a live Q&A, but that got kind of nixed when Scarlett, my best friend for 7 years who I love so much, sent me messages saying that she would video call me last night, but that had to be moved because she was driving 3 hours straight and she was tired when she got back home. So I'm hoping to have that video call with her tonight, maybe, and the live Q&A might take place this weekend. I'm sorry for the delay. The last disclaimer, this episode might get slightly controversial for reasons that I'll get into when I cover the band's fourth album. Also, yeah, another disclaimer, that's four, actually. I won't be covering 99 Songs of Revolution. I don't really cover albums, to be honest. With the exception of August Burns' Red Sled and Hill. Anyway, get it, got it, good. Like most bands that I've covered, Streetlight Manifesto have been around for a long time, a decade and a half to be exact. They've released 4 albums, 5 if you count the covers album, and have a total of 8 members. 8. That's almost 9. Yeah. I'll get to that particular band at some point. So don't worry, Streetlight Manifesto have been blending their mix of genres for a long time now. To the untrained ear, they might sound like another ska punk band. And to my untrained ears, they sound like Streetlight Manifesto, and I'm going to tell you what my ears enjoyed and what they didn't enjoy. So this is Backtracking, and this time it's New Jersey's own Streetlight Manifesto. We start with their 2003 debut, Everything Goes Numb. Released through the Risk Group and Victory Records, it's honestly one hell of a debut. It was produced by the band's lead singer Thomas Kalnaki, who is also the band's only remaining member since they first formed. A history lesson time, actually. Thomas was also in a band called Catch-22, and several of Streetlight Manifesto's members are comprised of former members of that band and another New Jersey-based ska band named One Cool Guy, which is just those really great band names in my opinion. I like them. Everything Goes Numb is the band's longest album at just over 55 minutes, but oh god, is that length filled brilliantly. That sounded way dirtier than I had originally intended it. Yeah, I'm fine with that though. SLM have this fantastically infectious energy to them that I can't help but enjoy, and their lyrical work is something to behold. But before I get to that, I'll cover the band members that were present at the time of this album's recording/release. Thomas Kalnoki is lead singer and guitarist, Josh Ansley is bassist, Jim Conte on alto saxophone, clarinet and tenor saxophone, Jamie Egan on trombone, trumpet and tuba, Paul Landis on drums and Dan Ross on alto and baritone saxophone. Yep, this band uses a clarinet. Oh, and they use saxophones too. They're like Lisa Simpson, but if she weren't a girl and got into punk rock. Not that girls can't get into punk rock, but I was just saying because of all of Streetlight Manifesto's members being male and... Well, okay, you know this invisible shovel, I'm going to put that away before I keep digging. So, anyway, yes, there's just so much that they nail on their debut album. It's been recognised as one of the best ska punk albums of all time, and of its time, as well as one of the best debuts in that genre. So much so that it became a spearhead of the third-wave ska movement. It's not hard to see why. With amazing lyrical work, singing, production, song titles, yes, the song titles are just great on every album, and great instrumentation too. It's just such a damn good album. There's a lot to enjoy about it as well. Plenty of gang vocals, the balance of instruments is damn near perfect, which is difficult to pull off when you have that many instruments and members, and it's just super catchy and fun. Thomas Kalnoki, or Tokay, is a great guitarist, lyricist, and vocalist, writing great messages about death, suicide, and love. Quite a typical emo-ish mix, but there is more than those three, and it's not too whiny or too preachy, which is always a good thing. Also, his riffs and solos are just great. Josh plays fucking brilliantly on the bass, adding a great, smooth line to a lot of the work on the album. Streetlight Manifesto just has great bass work all in all, I'll say that right now. Paul's drumming is awesome, hitting the snares hard and having some amazing combos and fills and great sweeps. The saxophone work of Dan and Jim is all good, and they both play well, as Jamie with his trombone, trumpet and tuba, even though the tuba's used a bit less. Standout songs include If and When We Rise Again, We Are the Few, The Great Closer and The Big Sleep, A Better Place, A Better Time, and my favourite, In Point Counterpoint. I really like that song. Everything Goes Numb is just an absolutely fantastic debut album, and I can certainly recommend it. It's catchy, it's easy to listen to, it's fun, it's energetic, and just has really fantastic lyrics that'll probably get stuck in your head, especially the intro of Point Counterpoint. It's so amazing. I can recommend it. Next up is their 2006 sequel, Keys Be Nights. Released only through Victory Records this time and produced by Thomas once again, as I think they all are. There are some changes in the lineup, but mostly everything else was the same. I'll get to the member changes too soon, but before that, I'm going to bitch slap you all with the Pimp Hand of History. If the album's title seems familiar, that's because Catch-22, the band that Tokay used to be the frontman for, already had their own version of it released back in 1998, released on Victory Records and produced by Catch-22, Jamie Egan, and Hilary Johnson. The original was also 40 seconds shorter in length than Streetlight's released version, which clocks in at just barely under 47 minutes. I won't go over differences in lineup for the Catch-22 version of the album either because that would take way too long. I will just say what I've seen though, from comments and stuff. The original is seen as more energetic, whereas the re-release has much better production value, not to mention several of the musical and lyrical parts being changed a lot between the releases. Considering that was a solid 8-year gap between the albums, I should hope that there were some changes at least. I haven't listened to the original version yet because this episode is about Streetlight Manifesto and not about Catch-22, but there's a good chance that I might give it a go in my own time. I might even cover Catch-22 in a future episode, maybe, I don't really know. Anyway, onto the album, by which I mean the 2006 version of it. It's got that signature energy to it, and it's got interesting lyrics, but that energy, for me, it feels a bit sacrificed for, at the cost of better production. That's just my feelings on it. I do like the album, it does keep things unpredictable here and there, but still, a 3-year gap between their debut and the sequel, and they just kind of offer more of the same, but with everything sounding better in terms of production. It could have been handled a bit better, that's all I'm saying. So, yeah, let's go over the new lineup changes. New bassist is Chris Patzik, P-A-S-Z-I-K, Pashik. Mike Soprano plays trombone, and Paul Enders has been replaced by Chris Thatcher on drums. Besides that, everything else is pretty much the same, and there's not a lot that I can say where I don't repeat myself, with the possible exception of more gang vocal work and more acoustic elements. There's some more laid-back stuff that soon kicks into bigger things on some songs, and it's a good little bit of messing around with that sound. And I quite enjoy that. It adds the unpredictability factor, so that's always a good thing. The members all perform well. Thomas provides some good riffs, vocals, lyrics, and production. Thatcher plays some great drum fills here and there. The brass instruments all sound great, and they start to shine more on this album, I think. And Chris Pashik provides some amazing bass lines and scales going with the others. Everyone, drummer excluded, provides awesome backing vocals in there too. Drummer excluded because he's the only one who doesn't do any backing singing. Standout songs include Day In, Day Out, the title track On and On and On, The Great Closure in 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and my favourite in Christina, She Don't Know I Exist. Yeah, that is the name of it. Despite it not being as energetic, the album is still fun and it's well produced here and there, making everything just sound that bit better. I can recommend it, but it might take some getting used to. It did for me, so. We roll along to the third album, Somewhere in the Between. Released in 2007, Victory again is the label, and like most releases that come out a year and a half after the previous one, this is the better album. It's weird how that keeps happening with this series, to be honest. Once again, there were lineup changes this time. Chris Patrick was replaced by Peter McCullough, with a much easier to pronounce surname. The new trumpet player is Matt Stewart, and Mike Brown takes over as the new alto sax and baritone sax provider. I think their producer is Thomas Kalnucki once again, which is always awesome. Speaking of awesome, he gets some guitar solos on this album, which is good, because there really wasn't any on Keys Me Nice, I don't think. Also, speaking of awesome, this album is just that. It's got that perfect balance between the great production of Keys Me Nice and the boundless energy and great lyricism of Everything Goes Numb. In fact, this album contains within it the first Streetlight Manifesto song that I ever heard in Would You Be Impressed, which I can quote word for word. It's one of the few songs where I can do that. I love that song. Anyway, Somewhere in the Between is the band's shortest album, at almost 44.5 minutes being spread across 10 tracks. And before anyone says it, I know that 99 Songs of Revolution is their shortest at just under 33 minutes, but I'm not counting that because, as I said in the intro, that's a covers album, and it's not eligible for this series, so moving on now. The album sound is similar to Everything Goes Numb, but there's the addition of more multi-instrumental solos, especially when it comes to the brass instruments. Speaking of which, the new members fill out the roster really well, and their combined backing and gang vocals just sound really, really great. It's nice to hear a ska punk band putting emphasis on the punk part like that. The shouting of 6 voices combined together just sounds so amazing to me. There are 7 members in the band, but since their drummer doesn't do backing vocals, he's the exception to the rule. Excuse me. As a side note, I also debuted the band's first ever music videos for We Will Fall Together and Would You Be Impressed, in that order. Both are animated and go well with their respective songs, and you should check them out. You should check the whole album out, actually. Thomas is back to writing songs about heartache, death, and the like, with his vocal performance remaining strong, and he gets some guitar solos again, which is good. He provides a good little chug and even doubles in more palm muting techniques to create a good sound for some of the songs. McCullough is an awesome bassist, providing amazing skills and chugs of his own, and Thatcher's drumming has stepped up a fair bit, adding more bass drum work. Also, the brass section sounds great, especially with the additions of Mike Brown and Matt Stewart playing their instruments really, really smoothly. They just sound good. Standout songs include Would You Be Impressed, We Will Fall Together, the great title track, One Foot on the Gas, One Foot in the Grave, and possibly my favourite and the great closer titled What a Wicked Gang Are We. Somewhere in the between combines the first two albums, adds more brass sections and solos, and just sounds fantastic. I can recommend this one, it sounds really good. And finally, we reached their fourth album, The Hands That Thieve, released in 2013 through Victory Records again, this time along with Thomas Kalnoky's own label Impedimento Records. There was a lot of controversy surrounding this one, mostly in regards to Victory Records themselves. Apparently, for over 2 years, they didn't pay Streetlight a damn penny and then tried to straight up sue lead singer Thomas Kalnoky for $5 million, despite Victory claiming that it was just $1 million at first, because, that makes it so much better. Anyway, whatever bullshit it was, I don't know if it's been resolved or not. I mean, considering that Streetlight haven't released a new album in almost 4 years, I can safely assume that it hasn't been fully done, which kind of sucks. Victory Records are just kind of terrible people, and the band don't mind showing the world their opinion of them. Yeah. Anyway, back to this album. Also 10 tracks, like Somewhere in the Between had, The Hands That Thieve beats it in terms of time, clocking at just over 50 minutes. The only other change is one new member, a new trombone player Nadav Nirenberg. Oh, and there's also the fact that before I started listening and writing for this episode, this was the first album that I ever heard by them. It was one of my favourite albums of 2013, and it's really not hard to see why, really. The Hands That Thieve is just so damn good. It's fun, it's energetic, and despite the dispute with Victory, it's very few of the songs actually feel like a middle finger to that label. I remember reading the comments under this album, someone saying that Thomas might have read up on some epistemology, to make your choice, which is the theory of thoughts and how they work. On occasion, I do get that vibe in this album. The album feels like an evolution of the band's sound, with them actually sounding their age. The only member's bio that I could look up is Tokay, and he was 32 at the time of this album's release, going to be 33 soon, so there you go. And he's going to be 37 by the end of this year, in case you're wondering. I can only assume that the other members are close to his age, but it is a testament to how different things were for them 10 years after their debut, going from teens and 20-year-olds to who they are now. It's one hell of a statement if you ask me. Thomas's riffs and vocals sound better, showing off more range with that signature, just really gritty drawl of his, and it's got this really nice harsh-sounding voice, I should have mentioned that earlier, and his messages of standing up for yourself amongst other things are more present than ever. Oh yeah. The brass section just sounds fantastic with great melodies from the saxophones especially. Also, there's some melodical work on some of the songs which just sounds nice. Peter's bass remains on point, adding awesome scales, riffs and grooves of his own. Chris's drumming continues to impress as well, adding more snare, double bass and awesome cymbal crash work. Really, really good. Standout songs include The Three of Us, They Broke Him Down, Oh Me, Oh My, The Beautiful Closer and Your Day Will Come, and my favourite and title track. The Hands That Thieve is just a fantastic piece of work by the band, showing off their versatility, catchy songs, energy, and great songwriting. I can recommend this one indeed. I can recommend this one quite a lot. And so, that's it for another episode. I'd have to say that my favourite is The Hands That Thieve. It's just so fun, it's so well written, and it feels like it's equal to their debut, but steps up on how much better it is. Least favourite is probably Keys Be Nights. I like the energy of it, and it's got good lyrics, and it's really well produced. But it just lacks that something, if that makes sense? Yeah. It's still good, but it's not great. That'll about wrap it up for this episode. Join me next time where I'll be covering Burn Halo. I know it's easy band with only 3 albums, so it shouldn't take as long. I'll see you all then. Bye bye, adios, and thanks for listening. You're awesome.